do we survive this latest crash? How do we protect our assets and set ourselves up for success? Now, the answer can be quite simple. Hit that subscribe button and let's find out. All right, so here we are at the Bitcoin chart in CoinMarketCap. Let's also grab the standard page. So, total crypto market cap has plummeted. It's not too horrible yet, but it's not looking great. Bitcoin dropping, most of the other altcoins following. ICP showing relatively good strength, but I'll talk about that in a separate video. But when we see this another massive drop up, basically a falling knife, and it's not looking like it's slowing down. And mind you, this is on the 24-hour. So if we look at the 1 hour, things aren't looking much better. There is some signs of strength, but the little buy up is immediately sold again. So if you've watched any of my latest videos, you see I try to find that little banana move each time, and it started, but we immediately saw more selling pressure, and it's looking like it's going to push lower. Now, knowing that we're most likely not out of the woods yet, I personally expect to see a bigger support system around 60K. Personally, I'm planning to buy around 60K. So with that in mind, how do we protect ourselves? Now, I gave you all a small tip already. I'm looking at 60K. Why am I looking at that and not necessarily at the chart? Because 60K is a psychological level. People will start buying around that price, possibly a little higher, making sure that they don't miss their entry slightly, so you can take a little bit of a higher entry. But I think more importantly is we all know it's an even number, it's a round number. And the fact of the matter, especially with crypto, especially with smaller crypto, but especially with Bitcoin as well, is that everyone's looking at the same chart. If everyone's looking at the same chart, if everyone thinks at 60K we're going to see a reversal, then everyone starts buying around that price. What happens when everyone starts buying? We start seeing more buying pressure on the charts. We start moving up, we start reversing, and the prophecy becomes reality. So it is a self-fulfilling prophecy in that regard. Now, obviously, there's big players manipulating it. This latest crash also being part of a little bit of manipulation. I won't get too into the details in this video because it's not really important. All we can do is ride these waves. We're reliant on it. We're not big enough traders to influence these prices ourselves. So what we can do is expect the expected. Use the predictability of these markets to our advantage. So around 65K could be a nice even number. I think 60K personally is also a pretty even number. And percentage wise, it's not that far off. And we touched it in the past. Now, we could touch it and break through it. We could very well fall through it even further to 55, 50K. I'm not saying that won't happen. Now, how do we protect ourselves from a bigger downturn around this place? So what we're going to do is we look at the all-time high. So it's done around 120K. It's a little higher, but let's say 120K. 60K is 50% of that. So if we buy at 60K, Bitcoin goes back to its all-time high. We make 100% gain. So we stand the potential to make 100% on a buy-in we do now. So that gives us something, that gives us margin to make profit. There is 100% gain in this range. It's done it in the past. It is the biggest crypto around. So you could argue that the fundamental is good enough to warrant that 100% gain. If not this year, maybe next year, maybe the year after that. It will require time and dedication. And this is the same for any asset. It doesn't matter if it's Bitcoin, it doesn't matter if it's Nvidia or gold or silver or any single asset. What matters is we buy the asset, we buy the fundamentals. So now we get a 50% discount on Bitcoin or close to it. we could say now would be a nice time to buy. Personally, that's exactly how I look at it. That's exactly how I look at my fundamental altcoin ranges. That's exactly how I look at Bitcoin. Argumentatively, the fundamental altcoins are a little more volatile, so we look for bigger discounts. Now, a 50% discount on Bitcoin, I think personally is a very good deal. But markets can be influenced. Obviously, we're seeing high inflation. We're seeing global crisis happen with fuel and food prices, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. There's always stuff happening in the world that's influencing prices like this. So you could argue, I'm not going to go all in around these prices. So I'm not using all the spare cash I have to buy at these prices. So what we're going to do is something I call layering. And what basically means is, let's say I have $1,000 on the sidelines as cash, and if you follow any of my videos, you know I personally always keep cash. I'm never fully invested because now we need the dry powder to make these moves to mitigate our risks, buy back in at lower prices. So now we can buy a little bit around these prices and then wait. Just wait and see what the price does. That's why I always look at the daily charts. I don't care what happens in an hour. I don't care what happens in 15 minutes. All I care is the daily and possibly the weekly. Maybe I zoom in a little bit to see if we're already catching the knife, to basically decide a little bit earlier if I buy or not. But regardless, I look at the daily. So now we're seeing a knife falling. There's no bottom yet. So we're going to wait. We could set limit orders at around 60K. Then we're going to wait. Do we crash down to 50? Which is a possibility. So let's say we go from here all the way back down to 50K. So we make a 16% loss. This seems like a lot, but let's be real. In crypto, with the volatility we have, it's relatively small. But this is also why we don't buy all our money at 120, because then, knowing that we can go to 50, the potential becomes a lot bigger. You lose, well, a little over because I misclicked, but you lose a lot more. So let's say we go to 50, you lose 60%. And that's considerably more. And you need to make 120% to make that back. So that's why we don't buy the tops. We wait to see a little correction. That's where we buy. That's where we buy. That's where we buy. Basically buying the dip, as people say. Now, if we're looking at new assets, if we're looking at the fundamental altcoin ranges I mentioned, we wait. We wait to see all this fear shaken out. We wait to see if we're in a bear market, and now we start buying. So instead of started to buy here or here, we start buying there or there. So basically, I bought my last buy on Bitcoin was at around 65K. So I'm back at my last buy-in. So now I can buy a little bit more, average out even better, or wait till we hit that 50K. And I know it sounds simple. It is simple, but it's a very difficult thing to remind people of, to keep people paying attention to these simple basics, because it's not hard to make money in crypto or any asset you want to trade, but it is very easy to lose money doing this. It's very easy to lose money in trading, to expose yourself to too much risk, to get stuck in a major drawdown that you're not going to climb your way out of because you're just making the wrong decision. You're counter trading trends. And I like to do something called naked price action. I just look at what the prices are doing. I just look at the market sentiment. I look at the fundamentals, and that's how I determine when exactly I buy. If you want to know more about when I buy, why I buy, feel free to check out my completely free Discord. It is in the comment section. Check it out. Just click that link, join it. You don't like it, you can leave. Completely free, no hidden fees, nothing. I will add this. I have a link to BitUnix. If you want to trade crypto, you want to trade it cheap, you want to trade it with some free money, there's a link in there. You can use it. You get free trading balance. So use that to your advantage if you want. If not, completely fine as well. So this is a little short explanation I could go on for hours about how I buy, when I buy, how we protect ourselves, but I think the simplicity of this is, I think this is enough. And if you want to know more, just ask me, use the comments, find me on Discord, and I'll see you on the next video, guys. Peace.